Okay, so back at the bus behind the tree there, I am cleaning up the mess on the driveway of scrap metal and tarps and things like that, so that, well, today's pretty much a cleanup day. I'm going to clean the inside of the bus. I'm going to get the foam off the back seat. We'll see how far we get, but my goal is to proceed to the back hatch and the side door installation, and at some point soon to clean and paint the interior floor. So we'll see where we get. I might be pressure washing the bus inside today. Not sure though. All depends how long this cleanup takes. Alright, so today being the cleanup day, we've got a little mowing done under the bus. I'm going to crib the back or the driver's side tires to make the bus more level when it's parked. This parking spot's a little bit sloped, so anyhow, that's the next step. Move the bus back and then clean up inside the bus and get some actual building done. Alright, so today, yesterday actually, we cleaned the bus up, Jeremiah and I, and kind of organized stuff. The next projects are, today we're going to get this cleaned up, this foam. We're going to use the grinding wheel or the wire wheel to clean up the rust. I'm going to prime that today. We're going to prime this today. I'm going to remove this section here, and I'm going to install riv nuts in 5/16, 18 threads per inch bolts. That is to access the engine bay, and it will continue to serve that purpose, but I wanted to use the rib nuts to hold it in place. So it'll be the first time trying that tool out. I've never installed a rib nut before. And then we're going to prime this. Next will be getting this access panel fabricated. And then the next project will be that doorway. So obviously that's not all happening today, but that's what I have in mind. And then we also need to get another coat of paint on this floor after pressure washing. But I don't know if I'm pressure washing today or not. Okay, so I'm going to start grinding here and get this foam off. It's about the easiest way. And the kids are taking the generator over to my trailer. Alright, so halfway through this process with the foam, it's time for a quick clean up. I'm just knocking stuff around at this point, so I'm going to use a broom, sweep some stuff up and get back at it. Alright, so I've got the bulk of that foam off. Now I'm going to start, see, the bulk of the foam's off. Now I'm going to start on the rust up here. I'll use the wheel in a more methodical fashion. We'll do the top, and then we'll shop back that up, and then we'll do back and forth a little bit at a time to really get this cleaned up for painting. And after that we'll put a coat of tractor primer on it. And then I think I'm going to cut a piece of metal and tack or rivet it in place to reinforce this panel for strength, since the bed may end up resting on that. A little more metal wouldn't hurt. So this is why you do not buy cheap Harbor Freight grinding wheels. All the little wires that came off were projectiles, most of which are stuck in my skin. So anyway, I wouldn't recommend their lighter gauge wheels. The heavier gauge ones, the braided ones like that, seem to be less suspect, but these are downright dangerous here. So this is one of the messier jobs so far. I'm pretty much covered in this foam, but it's coming along. We'll do a cleanup and kind of see where we're at. I'm debating whether I'm going to try to use some solvent to get the adhesive off or just spray paint over this since it's getting covered. But we're getting pretty close to one or the other. So right now I'm in the middle of removing this panel. I wish I had known that this was an access when I had to change out the turbo just after buying the bus. I would have had a much easier time getting to the flange bolts. It was a nightmare. But this was covered up under the seat material, so I just assumed there was no access. But I'm going to make this accessible for the future as we build a sort of a lounging area back here under the bed. I'm thinking we'll have a couple little TVs, maybe some gaming systems, but this will become a couch under the lifting bed. Bed's going to be on lifting columns, linear actuators that have a synchronized control. That's the plan. So that'll make it easier to access the roof, climbing out where the skylight's going to be, where I'm pointing right now, and also get in bed at a normal height. So anyhow, that's the plan. I'm gonna make sure this is accessible. Okay, so this access panel is coming off. My plan is to keep grinding that and painting. I wanted to paint this whole flange here, and that way we'll make sure it doesn't ever rust out. So it's a pretty good view of the engine, but these bolts down here were the ones that were giving me a nightmarish time trying to reach them with any kind of torque when changing that turbo before. And I don't know if the turbo is spooling now. It was an inexpensive turbo when I bought it, so this will be nice to have access to repair it. So I suspect the wastegate may be, possibly might be, this wastegate might be stuck. I don't know. But we're going to find out. I'll have to get a boost gauge. But you can see it's pretty handy to have access back here from time to time. So that's why it's important to leave it preserved. So anyhow, that's what I'm up to. Okay, so at this point we are going to paint. I've got some cardboard covering the engine so drips don't get down in there. We're going to paint all this. Actually, I changed my mind. I think we're going to use white paint. I want to save that primer for another coat outside. So we're just going to use white tractor paint. Well, it looks like I lied. We decided to use a little bit of red paint that was left on this. So probably cover it again in white when I go over the floor the second time. We'll do another coat on this with white paint. That's the plan anyway. Alright, so Maddie's painting, doing a good job here. Getting a nice thick coat of paint on this rusty top. And the plan will be to put another piece of metal in. Probably just rivet it in place for strength. And to cover up these little holes caused by rust. I might tack weld them to the, tack weld that sheet to that angle iron as well. Okay, so we've got the back completely painted, got the hatch painted as well. So I'm not really worried about the quality of the paint job because this is going to get covered up. The whole idea here is just to rust protect the surfaces. So, but it does look pretty good all painted up. So the cardboard will just stay there for drips so the engine doesn't get covered in red. That's it for today.